All right, ladies and gentlemen. So people have been asking what's going to happen. What's going to happen to Firewalk Studios? What's going to happen to the developers after the massive failure known as Concord? What could possibly have to happen after a $200 million loss? And it's probably more than that, to be honest with you. But let's just say a $200 million loss of investment from both Sony and Firewalk Studios. What is going to happen? Well, apparently there is a new rumor that the Concord game director, Ryan Ellis, has officially stepped down after the game's massive failure.
I'm fired, aren't I?
Oh, yes.
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, just keep in mind, this is just a rumor at this point in time, but let's really think about this. Is it really shocking to understand that there's going to be people stepping down, people getting fired, people getting laid off, whatever the case may be, after a game like Concord? I don't really think this is very shocking information. If anything, I feel like it didn't happen sooner. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. It says a new rumor claims that Concord game director Ryan Ellis has stepped down from his position after the game's abysmal failure that saw its servers shut down about 2 weeks after it launched. 10 days, bro. 10 days. That should be made into like a t-shirt. 10 days of Concord. Ellis announced that the game would shutter in a blog post on PlayStation blog at the beginning of September. He shared, while many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game in our initial launch didn't land the way we intended. No, we already talked about that. And obviously, these guys were gaslighting people. They were gaslighting people on Twitter. They were trying to say all the hate they were getting was white noise. None of it matters. Twitter isn't a real place, blah, blah, blah. And on top of that, too, they were gaslighting people and saying that they were going to work on this game for years to come. They were ready to support the game for years to come. It honestly seems like they were talking to Sony more than they were talking to fans, honestly. Like, they were putting out those posts in the hopes that Sony would not do the inevitable shutdown that they knew was coming after their abysmal numbers. He then declared that, therefore, we have decided to take the game offline, which we already know on September 6th of 2024, which, by the way, September 6th of 2024 was such an epic day. So many things were announced that were W's for Gamergate. It was insane. Now, a new rumor from Kotaku's Ethan Gack claims that Ellis has stepped down from his position at game director. You know what's so interesting? I find it interesting as hell that when non-mainstream media does rumors, right? Let's say Manga Lawyer, for example. When non-mainstream media does rumors, everybody's like, oh, you got to take it with a grain of salt, blah, 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 whatever. And it's not true. It's just the chuds trying to make up lies and blah, 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 right? Well, every time the mainstream media does it, all of a sudden, a rumor is perfectly okay. All of a sudden, it's perfectly fine to speculate. It's perfectly okay to just throw out nonsense or things that you may not be able to verify publicly, and everybody just eats it up. It's like just be consistent. You know what I mean? Like, I report on rumors from anybody. You know what I mean? I find them to be interesting, and they start conversation. But you'll have people out there that'll look at Kotaku's rumor mill, and they'll be like, oh, that sounds about right. It's Kotaku. They're legit. And then you're going to have other people say, oh, no. If the chuds do it, that's not allowed. I just think it's a little bit ridiculous. Anything. So Gak wrote, Ryan Ellis told staff at Firewalk last week that he would be stepping down from his game director role and move into a support role instead, according to 3 sources familiar with the change. This should not be a surprise, given it's quite difficult to be a game director when you do not have a game to direct. Aside from this rumor, that's actually pretty funny. Aside from this rumor that Ellis has stepped down as game director, Gat claims 3 sources inside Firewalk Studios informed him that they're pessimistic about Concord returning. At least one of them allegedly informed him that they have been asked to explore pitches for something completely different than Concord. He also indicated that there is uncertainty as to what happens to the studio moving forward. While some may have been asked to pitch new projects, others are speculating that they might get moved to other studios within the PlayStation Studios network. Now, I personally think that's what was going to happen. If you guys go back to some of my older videos on Concord, you'll see that I said that was more likely going to be the case, right? I didn't think the studio was going to close down. I think that they were going to lay off some people and they were going to absorb the rest, because I feel like they're not going to fire the whole damn studio. I just don't think that's going to be the case, even though it should be, right? I really genuinely believe that in the gaming industry, these people are getting coddled left and right. They're getting coddled. They're getting saved from their bad decisions and just overall bad nonsense that they like to take part in. They get saved over and over, which is why we keep seeing this over and over, because people are never going to learn their lesson if they just put this shit out there and then everybody just tries to save them every time. This information is not new. Firewalk Studio senior concept artist Amanda Kiefer previously revealed employees were terrified of the future after the game was shut down. Yeah, I don't listen, man. They can try to do this sob story about, oh, our jobs are on the line, whatever. You guys should have thought about that before you started doing this nonsense with the identity politics in a video game made for nobody, right? You try to say that this game was made for everyone. Let's be real, man. It was made for nobody, which is why nobody showed up, right? You have people who barely played this game, and then the ones who did play this game quit it after a few days. We know that's true because the numbers reflect it, right? There's no way after 5 days you go from 700 players to 120 players and people didn't quit, right? There's no way. People were quitting left and right the moment they bought this game, and hopefully they refunded it, but chances are they didn't. But hopefully they did, especially if they bought a physical copy. But still, it's just ridiculous, man, to expect anything less, or to expect people to care after you yourself told everybody else that if you don't like it, don't buy it. You told people, oh, it's just white noise. Everything you're hearing right now is just white noise, and that is it. And you're just going to keep doing what you're doing. Well, guess what, man? Now you learned what happened when you commit to doubling down. That's basically it. Kiefer wrote on X, I was going to DM you after seeing this, but this site makes me pay to do that. So at the risk of getting dogpiled, I'm just going to say this here. And again, we went over her whole statement. It was all stupid. It was somebody who was crying from the beginning about how their jobs are on the line. It's quite possible that Firewalk Studios gets the Bungie treatment. At the end of July, Bungie, which is also a subsidiary of PlayStation Studios, like Firewalk, laid off around 17% of its staff, transferred a 12% to other companies within Sony, and then spun off an incubation project, which included an estimated 80 or so people into its own studio. Yeah, I would say that's more likely. I would say that Firewalk Studios is going to get, I would say, at least half absorbed, and then the other half is up in the air, right? Whether they get fired or whatever, I think it's up in the air. Because, listen, man, Concord lost too much damn money. Too much money. There's no way they're bringing it back in any capacity. I really don't. I think they probably said that for PR, PR speak, but they're just going to try to quietly move along. They're going to try to quietly, just kind of walk away and let the conversation die out around Concord over the next few months to a year. They're just going to walk away. I highly doubt they're going to bring this game back anytime soon, because it's way too soon, right? People are still mad at the game. People are still, obviously, in their mind, they are not interested in Concord. So why would they be interested 4 months later, even as free to play? We know that free to play is not going to save this game. We know that. It might get a good press because then all the modern audience can finally join in on the game since they don't pay for anything. But other than that, in terms of actual players, yeah, this game being free to play didn't save it. The modern audience joined in during the open beta so they could virtue signal with the game and make Twitter posts and make YouTube videos and make Twitch streams. But after the open beta left and now they charge you $40, guess what? The modern audience didn't show up because they didn't want to pay for anything. So again, you should have started as free to play, and you might have had a better opportunity. But now people know exactly what Concord is, and there's no way in hell that anybody's going to play this game, whether it returns as free-to-play or not. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it if you could like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.